Hey, what's up? I'm Nathan Bernier. I am here in Studio 1A at KUT 90.5. First time doing one of these live streams, so we're going to see how this works. See if. Can you see me? We're good. All right, we're live, y'all. Really appreciate you joining us for this. I don't think I need these AirPods right now. Let me know in the chat if you're having any problems hearing me. But let's just dive in. So we got the cool drum kit behind me. I'm not going to play it, but we are here to talk about the I-35 Capital Express North project. This is an expansion of I-35 that started last year in 2023. Funny bit of trivia about the groundbreaking ceremony for this project. It actually happened on March 29th, 2023, which is exactly 61 years to the day of the ribbon cutting ceremony for the I-35 opening in downtown Austin. That was on March 29th, 1962. I asked TxDOT about that. They said it was a total coincidence. What are the odds? 61 years to the day. Of course, at the groundbreaking ceremony, there were protesters. Not everyone loves this project. Lots of people are vigorously opposed to it for a bunch of reasons that we're going to touch on. And you can, go more in depth and learn about all of the issues surrounding this at our new landing page, which I encourage you to check out. KUT.org/I-35. You can do I-35 or just I-35. Both of them work. I keep saying that over and over. To me, it's like a big deal if it's a radio guy. Do you say the hyphen or do you not say the hyphen? It's a broadcast-friendly URL, y'all. So let's check that out because it's right over here. Boom. And I'm going to go back to my Firefox, and it looks normal in real life, but right now it's a little shrunken because I am using OBS, and let me see if I can shrink this a little bit more. Ooh, you get the idea. KUT.org/I-35. Check it out. We've got all kinds of info on there, including this walkthrough, which we're going to jump into. But before we do, I just want to give you an overview of what we're going to be doing here today. I do want to just first give you a real quick rundown of the main parts of this project. And then we're going to dive in, and we're going to be doing a lot of jumping around between PDFs. I went through about 5,000 almost 5,000 pages of documents for this. I didn't read every single page, studiously, but it's a lot of, next page, technical documents. I am not a highway engineer, but I don't think you really need to be a highway engineer to get the basics of what is coming to this stretch of highway. We're talking about, if you're unfamiliar with this, we're talking about essentially this area of, it's not showing up now, but essentially we're talking, here, I'll bring it up on our story page, which you can find at KUT.org/I-35. But here's the project location, right? We're talking about US 290 East all the way up to SH 45 North, which is just past the Williamson County line. This is one of three parts of the expansion through of I-35 through Travis County. There's a north, central, and south. We have a walkthrough, ultimate guide of the central portion if you want to check it out at our new I-35 website. But today, of course, we're going to be focusing on this. I don't drive this section of I-35 a lot, I'll be honest with you, but I was driving it on Saturday night. Was going southbound from Round Rock, and at night, vehicle full of people, and I was the temporary lanes swerve a lot. I mean, if you get used to them, you can probably deal with it, but I was a little shocked at how much those lanes swerve, especially with 18-wheelers next to you and you got kids in the car. It doesn't feel right. But we're going to talk a little bit about the road lane shifting and how they're working this. TxDOT wants to keep at least 3 lanes open at all times during this project in both directions, in each direction, with the exception for occasional closures at night. So we have a lot to jump through here, and I just, I want you to understand that it might seem like we are skipping some stuff because I don't want to spend 5 hours going through 4,000 to 5,000 pages of documents. Really what my goal here, because you can go and read the story right now, I'd like to just show you what I'm doing, and hopefully through this you will want to be able to look at these documents for yourself if you want. If there's a specific intersection or a specific concern that you have, you'll be able to download these documents. They're linked at the website at the story. They're linked on our guide, our ultimate guide. And sorry, I've got a lot of windows going on here, so I'm a little distracted. But we've got at the very bottom, I want to show you this, just get it right out of the way. This is a really long story, y'all. Look at this. Oh my God. See, we can't spend 5 hours doing this. But right here, available for download, 1.8 gigabyte zipped file. And what we're going to be looking at is essentially 6 PDFs. And I'm going to go to them now. And they're all like a lot of technical stuff like this, you know. And I'll just sort of orient you so you can figure out, because I've spent a lot of time going through these, just give you an idea of how to find what you're looking for. But first, let us do just an overview of what this project entails, because it is a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on here. If I bring up my Firefox, you can see in all the way back up to the top here. This is like a sort of bullet point list that I wanted to show you, which is the big pieces of the project. So the main focus of this, cutting to the chase here, is the main purpose of this project, according to TxDOT, is to add one managed lane in each direction, one high occupancy vehicle lane in each direction. You know, they call them managed lanes, but then they put up the signs and it's HOV lane. Like this is the sign from the documents that they're going to be using, HOV lane. So whatever you want to call it, high occupancy in quotes, because the occupancy that is high is 2 or more people in the vehicle, which is that high? I don't know. They could raise that if they wanted to, but a big question, and I'm going to do more reporting on this, so stay tuned, but it's like, does this actually work? Do managed lanes actually work? How do they enforce this? How do they make sure that there's at least 2 people in the vehicle? Because if there's no enforcement, it's just going to be like any other general purpose lane. The lanes are also going to be available for use by transit vehicles like, you know, Cat Metro buses and stuff, and first responders, ambulances, and police, of course. So we're going to go over some, you know, new bridges at Howard, Breaker, Grand Avenue Parkway, and Wells Branch. The bridges at St. John's and 183 in Parma are going to stay the same because those have been revamped in recent years. This is a diverging diamond interchange. You may be unfamiliar with those, but we're going to talk about those. There's 4 of them in Austin right now. They're going to put a new one at Wells Branch. It'll be the first DDI at ground level in the Austin area. All the other ones are bridges. Intersection bypass lanes, which are basically when you're on the frontage road and you're approaching an intersection, you can get on the lane and bypass the traffic light. There's going to be those installed. Howard Lane northbound, Yeager, Tech Ridge, Yeager Lane, Tech Ridge, northbound. Of course, those are like 2 streets that meet at I-35, Yeager, Tech Ridge. And Runberg, in both directions, are going to have bypass lanes. A bunch of entrance and exit ramps will be relocated. This is interesting, I thought. Flyover ramps for Capital Metro buses. So Cap Metro is going to take advantage of these managed lanes, they say, and sort of orient their routes so that they can zip down I-35. They have a couple routes, at least using I-35 now. Well, we're going to go over that. Basically, the plan here is to have a ramp. The managed lanes will be in the middle of the road. The ramp will let the buses come up and turn into the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. I have some schematics for that. No one's seen them before in the public, except for people who've read this story already. We'll look at that. And we're going to have sidewalks. TxDOT is going to install sidewalks between 8 and 10 feet wide along the entire length of I-35 through Travis County. And then this is something that has also not been reported till now, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong. New pedestrian crossings under the I-35 bridges that cross Walnut Creek and Little Walnut Creek. TxDOT's going to design those, I guess, apparently, and according to the city, TxDOT will design them and the city will build them. TxDOT gave me the impression they're going to build the one under Walnut Creek, but we'll get to that. And then, a bunch of other stuff. Again, you can read this story, but what I really wanted to do is, check out the story for details on who pays for this, and some of the environmental effects. The big obvious one is more tailpipes on the road, and traffic noise is going to get louder, and there are other environmental effects as well. But let's just go ahead and, well, first of all, this is probably the best illustration that we could start with, which is a typical cross section of what I-35 will look like from US 290 to SH 45 north. It's not all going to look exactly like this. This is just to give you a basic idea. But you can see right now, you might have 3 12-foot lanes northbound, 3 12-foot lanes southbound. Sorry, my face is in the way of the of the frontage road. But and then it will be expanding. This is not even quite accurate because they're saying 3 lanes, 11-foot lanes northbound and 3 11-foot wide lanes southbound. But some areas are going to be 4 lanes wide. Some will be 5 lanes wide if you include the auxiliary lane, like main lanes. And then, some frontage roads will only be 2 lanes wide at certain points. So, but this just gives you a basic idea. They're making this road wider. It's going to grow by 17 acres, the right of way. So 5 auto businesses were forced to relocate because of this. Automobile businesses like repair shops and stuff. And there's a lot going on here. So let us first of all, I want to go, and I got some drone photography for this thing. Check out this. I want to show you this. When I went to the groundbreaking, TxDOT had this fly-through video, which kind of gives you an idea. Of course, it's animation. It's not it's a little sanitized, I guess, but it's a little mesmerizing, I'll be honest with you, these animations, especially when you're looking at a gigantic screen. But we're gonna go. So let's begin by starting at the very northern edge of this SH45. And I think what we want to do now is first dive into the other document, which you can find linked on the story, which is the schematics. Now, these are from 2021. These are preliminary schematics. Parts of these have changed. So this is not the final plan. The final plan is in these documents, these 4,000 plus pages. So this is right here, SH45. And there's not going to be new ramps added from I-35 to SH45 as part of this. That will be another phase of I-35 expansion that is happening north of this point into Round Rock. TxDOT right now is sort of in the studying phase of that. And again, you can download this and take a closer look. But you kind of see here, like, maybe let's start by orienting ourselves with the legend. And these legend colors aren't always accurate either. But essentially, what the main colors we want to be thinking about here are these little arrows are going to show where the ramps are going to be to get on and off the managed lanes. We have the managed lanes themselves are this sort of green color here. And then the yellow is new construction, new pavement. And so as we move south from SH45, we see where people will be able to enter the HOV lane just right around Green Lawn Boulevard, past this Rooms to Go. And it's also a little south of there is where people will be able to exit the HOV lanes. And I should say, forgive me for not pointing this out in case it's not obvious, but in these maps, in this schematic map, north is to the left. So north is that way, right is that way. And so we're working our way from north to south as we scroll this way through the project. There's, right here we can see there's some widening going on with the southbound frontage road south of SH45. Not a ton of changes here. This little green line is the shared use path, they call it, which is basically like a wider sidewalk that both cyclists and pedestrians or scooterists or anyone, rollerbladers, someone in a wheelchair, you know what I mean, shared use path. Now, this is 6 pages, the schematic, and the first page, there's not a lot going on. It's the northern edge of the project. But you can see right here, this exit ramp will be closed, and there's going to be a new entrance ramp here. And this is part of what TxDOT calls a ramp reversal. And they're doing a number of these ramp reversals where they close an exit ramp and open an on-ramp, or vice versa. And the idea there, I talked to TxDOT about this and some engineers, and their thinking is basically new highway design standards make it safer, according to them, to have more distance, often more distance before the destination intersection. So it used to be like when you exit for, Main Street, you want that exit to exit right at Main Street, and then you pull off and you're at Main Street. But TxDOT is saying, they would prefer, and it's not in all cases in these exits, but to have more room for people to merge over if they want to turn right on Main Street, instead of having to cut across 3 lanes of traffic super fast. So here we've got a proposed new entrance ramp. Now, some of these, and I don't have my notes in front of me because all my notes are in that story, but you can read through it. But some of these are just slight shifts when they talk about a new entrance ramp, or they're making the ramp straighter, a little more straight instead of a sharper turn. Let's go down to page 2 here and go all the way over to the northern end. A lot of scrolling is involved in this. So here's our match line. And again, I wanted to try and teach you how to fish, so to speak, so you can look at these documents for yourself. That's honestly my main goal of this. And let me know if you have any questions. Please pop them in the chat, in the what's that? Oh, okay. Chelsea's sending them to me. Chelsea Zhu is our digital producer, who's the person behind the wonderful new landing page we have. Congrats, Chelsea, and thank you for all your hard work. And she's here just sending me your Slack messages, which I am starting to get. I just want to address some of those real quick. Signage is not very good. According to Jennifer Thal, TxDOT signage sucks. Need more signs and sooner so people can get in the correct lane safely. Okay, great. Now, let's keep going here. Again, I want to teach you sort of how you can look at these yourself, because there's no way I'm going to be able to address every single person's curiosity. Like for me, I live close to I-35 in South Austin, and I want to know what's happening near my house. Where's this exit going? And I don't really care as much about everything else. So you're probably in the same situation, especially if you use this section of road a lot. So this is the match line. Again, I'm not a highway engineer here, but these station markers, what are they called? Station markers, location markers, STA. Some of you are working engineering, you'll know. But these numbers essentially are throughout the project. C2, 2, 3, 2. These are used as sort of reference points along the way. So when we're looking at other documents, you'll be able to sort of cross-reference where, here you can see I don't know if you can see it, but their numbers are here too. So these are just location identifiers, for lack of a better term. They have a better term probably, but that's what I'm calling them. So let's keep rolling along here. We're cruising south on the new I-35 Capital Express North. And here is where we start to see some more things going on. First of all of this yellow is, again, resurfaced road. This is just north of Grand Avenue Parkway, the first sort of major intersection that we reach, not including SH45 North. And let's just take a look at Grand Avenue Parkway, because I do have a nice little drone photo here of Grand Avenue Parkway. And there's something I wanted to show you about this. So this is sort of an overhead. If we go, you can see they've already torn down the northbound bridge, and they've sort of divvied up traffic on the southbound bridge, and that's why you wind up with these super narrow lanes, 11-foot wide typically during the construction period, and some of them are going to be permanently 11-foot wide. But some will remain 12 feet wide. CapEx Central downtown, they're all going to be 11 feet wide, so they're going to be shrunken lanes. And if you wonder what an 11-foot wide lane feels like, you can drive on Mopac north of Lady Bird Lake to about 2222. The lanes there are pretty much all 11 feet wide, including the express lanes. TxDOT and CTRMA shrunk the width of the lanes to fit them all in that area. So back to our schematic. This is where we're at. And orange means new bridge. New bridge. This entire bridge will be reconstructed. And I'm going to show you something else up here real fast. I don't know if they have this. I might have to go back to the story here we are. So Grand Avenue Parkway itself comes up here to Central Commerce Drive. Now let me show you real fast what it looks like now, because this is going to change. This is just east of I-35, and you can see these medians in the middle of the road. They're kind of wide now. Well, when we get to you see the yellow. these medians are going to be narrowed to almost nothing so they can add more lanes on Grand Avenue Parkway. So if I drove around there, I would be very interested to know that. Otherwise, sidewalks going in on the side here. And I have cross sections of these. So let's take a closer look at some of the more detailed drawings. These are called the 100% plans. And these are essentially, the plans that are given to the contractor. These were designed by Volkert. And just quickly to orient yourself here, if you want to dive into these, I'm going to flip it to page 1. Okay, so there's 6 of these documents. Document 1 is 920 pages. Just to give you an orientation here, if you're trying to look at these yourself, page 1 gives you a bunch of technical information, but table of contents, this is really helpful to figure out which PDF to look at. And you can see volume 1 is a lot of the traffic control plans, the temporary stuff that they're doing while they're constructing the highway. Volume 2 has a little more detail, but I spent a lot of time on volume 4 and 5. Especially volume 4, because there's a lot of detail about like the bridges and the cross sections they're going to be building. Volume 6 is a lot of technical stuff like water lines and telecommunications and wastewater lines, kind of thing your average person is probably not very aware of, but maybe that matters to you. So again, you can find a download link to this in the description of this video, and if it should be there. If not, go to the story and it'll be at the bottom. But so I have a bunch of bookmarks here. Now I'm jumping around. We wanted to look at Grand Avenue Parkway, and here you can, if you look at these docs, you can get a more detailed view. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of these because we don't have that much time. But just if you're wondering, like, what is the layout going to be? Will there be a slip lane here? Yes, there will be. If you let me zoom out a little bit, and then volume 4 here. Do I have Grand Avenue Parkway bookmarked? It's just a matter of doing a Control F and looking for your favorite street. But this is another thing you can search is like typical section. And like this is going to be I-35 at Grand Avenue Parkway. And you can see it's going to be, 3 12-foot wide lanes, because 3 times 12 is 36. I don't know if you can read that, 36. And a 12-foot wide managed lane in each direction, and a 10-foot wide shoulder. So it's not a huge change to where it is right now. But also, like, if you are on this page and you go up, again, just to orient you, you can find sort of the phased, what it's going to look like while it's under construction. Right now, for your reference, we're under phase 2. So this is kind of what it looks like under phase 2 construction. Again, this is proposed typical section, so some of this stuff could change. And then it's going to switch up to this in phase 4. So all of these sort of proposed sections have the before and after, if you will, and then the in-between. Section 1 of this, there's a lot about the traffic control plans, and there's so many technical details here, but exactly like, here we go, traffic control plan. Some specific information here that's relevant. There's a lot of this never made into the story because it's already like 8,000 words is long enough. But like there's the contractor. These are directions to the contractor, which is Police, Pulice. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they're owned by a gigantic Spanish firm called ACS, which is like one of the world's largest construction firms, a huge mega corporation. They're building right now a dry dock for nuclear submarines at Pearl Harbor. That's just one of their projects. It's like a $2.8 billion project or something. So this is a massive company, but their subsidiary, is Police. It's a little confusing if you're not used to seeing these trucks driving around that say police on them. It looks like a law enforcement vehicle, but it's a U instead of an O in police. So it's not the cops, it's the contractor. The shared use path will be the last item to be constructed. I thought that was interesting. Those, they talk about how they're going to put these along the entire length of the highway in both directions, but it will be the very last thing to be constructed according to the traffic control plan here. But pedestrian traffic must be, maintained at all times. If you are a business owner along the highway, you may be interested in this. They're supposed to be contacting you at least 5 days before they do any driveway construction. So you should get advance notice. 5 days is not a ton of notice. Oh yeah, let's hit up some questions real fast because okay, Sarah Jenkins in the schematic. I thought I saw a semi in the managed lane. Will large trucks be allowed? That's such a good question. Is there music right now? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry if the music was drowning out my voice. I didn't realize there was music on that. It was the fly through, right? Fly through video. Yeah. I'll mute it next time. If there's a next time that I play that. That is such a good question, Sarah. I don't know. So I'm going to write that down as, we'll get an answer on that. These are all great questions, and I love to hear from you guys because you think of things that I could not think of when I'm reporting this. And I only have so much time to report each story. Like, I can't ask every single question in the world at once, but I can go back to it and find out more. So great question, Sarah. I mean, I presume so if there's more than two people in the vehicle. And then, are the bridges being reconstructed for better safety, integrity, or to accomplish something else? Jennifer Thal. Great question, Jennifer. The bridges are mainly being reconstructed because they have to be wider. So the bridges over I-35, well, the I-35 bridges over cross streets and the cross street bridges, the I-35 bridges over cross streets are being reconstructed so that they can have more space for all of the lanes. And then the cross street bridges, and there's only one that's being reconstructed, which is Breaker. It's not a huge change, but we will get to that. Let me jump here. Yeah, I think those are all the questions for now, but if you have more, pop them in the chat, and you can always, this is going to go longer than half an hour. I'm sorry, but we're just getting started here, and I'm enjoying this. I hope you guys are too, because, you know, I love to nerd out on this stuff, and it's really, it's in these details where the devil hides. You know, this is where you find out what's really going on. You have to scroll to learn. But I just wanted to walk you through real fast, like, and let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. I wanted to orient you. If you're opening these, keep an eye on this bottom right area here. This little square kind of tells you where you are. So when you're flipping through real fast, it's almost like a flip book. Like you can kind of see, okay, we're into, you know, I found this immensely helpful to orient myself, especially as I'm doing like a Command F, enter, next, looking for something related to a specific street. But just like these are the proposed typical sections. Throughout, again, there are the match lines there, or the location identifiers that you can match up with the schematics if you really want to know more. But let's just zip along here and try and move along a little bit faster. So I really want to open up my story because everything in my story is, like I don't remember everything off the top of my head, all of the changes that are coming to every single section. But I can talk a little bit more about it as we scroll through. Now, one thing that I have to apologize for is that when you're reading this story, you can't click on the images and make them bigger. It makes me so mad. But what you can do is you can right-click and download the image, or more easily copy image link. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the image up into my browser, and it opens full screen. So these are bigger images. They're just shrunken on the website. So that will hopefully help you get a closer look without necessarily having to dive into the schematics. So we talked about the ramp reversals. Pardon me while I get a drink of water here. I've been talking a lot. Ramp reversals. Let's just keep moving a little bit further south. We cross over Gilliland Creek here. This is one of several creeks, 9 creeks that this project crosses over. And, you know, I thought this was interesting. TxDOT says the highway is being constructed to allow for inundation of the roadway during a 100-year flood without causing damage to the road or property nearby. This is just a map of Gilliland Creek. Basically this creek wouldn't be as cross I-35. It's all the runoff from the highway that makes it, and from SH-45 that makes it that much further, because the source of Gilliland Creek is Ward Spring outside Pflugerville. But as we move a little bit further south here, and let's just make this a bit bigger, you can see what's going on here. And where are we now? We are just north of Grand Avenue Parkway, which, you know, I think we've gone over this stuff before, right? So now we're at Grand Avenue Parkway. I showed you the changes there. I showed you this cross section. New bridge over Grand Avenue Parkway. I wanted to highlight these slip lanes. You're going to see a lot of these throughout the project. And what a slip lane is, probably most of you know if you're watching this live stream, but it's a lane where vehicles can make a quick right-hand turn without having to stop for a pedestrian or for a traffic light. And it's great if you want to turn right, not so great if you're on foot and trying to cross the street, because you just kind of got to wait for your moment and then make a break for it. It's only one lane, I realize. It's only 15 feet or so, but it still can be kind of a pain in the butt. And so there's going to be this slip lane here. This is the southbound frontage roads. I know this is sort of oriented in a weird way, but these are the southbound frontage roads turning right onto Grand Avenue Parkway. And then the northbound frontage road is going to get double right turn only lanes at Grand Avenue Parkway, but there will be a traffic signal there. So that's one of the differences that TxDOT is doing. And I already talked about the changes to Grand Avenue Parkway east towards Central Commerce Drive. It's going to get another lane in each direction, essentially. A couple, as you're going through these, what I did is I had Google Earth open so I could compare side by side, because some of these it's not accurate. And I don't know I-35, this section of I-35 as well as I do in South Austin, because I've pretty much most of my time in Austin lived in South Austin, and I live in South Austin now. But like, for example, in this exit ramp to be closed, should read entrance ramp to be closed right here, because we're talking about going north on the frontage road. Again, this is like the ramp is being closed, but it's just shifting. The ramp is shifting, so it's a little bit more of a gradual merge onto the highway. And then going southbound here, some new surfacing. And then right here, sort of south of Grand Avenue Parkway, is where a new entrance is for the HOV lanes. And where are those on-ramps? Like, is it going to be near where I live if I can get on the managed lane, or do I have to go down like 3 traffic signals or 2 exits or whatever, or 2 intersections, cross streets? So let's keep going here. On Pamela Street, another opportunity to enter the southbound managed lanes right here. This is what these green arrows are. If you're looking through the schematic, you can see where those are. So a new ramp, proposed new entrance ramp. Well, it's gonna. I mean, we're having new ramps here. Ramp action happening. Now, this is I added this late in writing this story, but I just wanted to show you what I'm talking about. How some of these ramps, it's like a quote unquote new ramp, but what they're doing is they're just smoothing out, making the drive on the ramp less of a extreme angle. Like I don't know if you can see this, but like the satellite view, it's kind of a more harsh on ramp, and this one is more gradual. So there's that. Let's keep rolling down here. Wells Branch Parkway. All right. So, okay, Wells Branch Parkway. Let's get to we have a new question here. Sarah Jenkins says, what types of sound barriers will be constructed and where will they be? Excellent question, Sarah, because there's going to be 8 sound barriers, and here, this is Wells Branch right now, but let's, I want to get to the sound barriers, because to me as I'm an audio guy. I work in radio. I love audio, and I'm fascinated by sound, and I've reported on the noise barriers and the noise concerns for this project before. So there are going to be 8 of them. However, it's important to note that many of the locations that will have louder sound because of the expanded highway will not get sound barriers. And there's a reason for that we'll get into. Let's just move down here, because Wells Branch is one of the biggest changes of this entire project. Wells Branch this is what it looks like now after the northbound bridge was destroyed. It's going to be converted to a diverging diamond interchange. What is a diverging diamond interchange? You may be familiar with them if you have been on Mopac at La Crosse or Slaughter or Parmer at I-35, or in Round Rock, I think it's University Boulevard and I-35. There's 4 in the Austin area, and this will be the 5th. There's another one coming to 360 as part of that project, I think. But this can be confusing. If you've never driven them before, your first time, you're like, what is going on, man? Because you go, like, as you can see, you're driving along, and then your traffic shifts to the other side of the road, and so you can turn left without having oncoming traffic coming at you. That's the whole point of these, is to like improve the flow of traffic. They're not always fantastic for pedestrians because, like, for example, in this one, the pedestrian crossway will be in the shared use path will be in the middle of 2 lanes of traffic, which is not, 3 lanes of traffic on either side of you is not my favorite place to be. And then, but whatever, it's I-35. But also you have more, often at least 4 or more. You have to cross the road 4 more times to get across. So they're not super favorable to pedestrians, and they have other drawbacks too. But I don't want to spend a ton of time on DDIs. I just did want to show you this because I have an animation which is that illustrates what it is like at Palmer Lane. Oops, I turned myself off when I wanted to turn off Wells Branch. And so this is at Palmer Lane. You kind of see the flow of traffic here, and one of the disadvantages of these, if you use I-35 regularly in this area, is if you're on the frontage road, you cannot continue south or north. You have to basically take the bypass lane, which you can see that little white truck going southbound on the bypass lane. Or if you miss the bypass lane, you have to kind of take a right down here on Palmer, go down, do a U-turn, come back on the westbound lanes, and then continue southbound, or vice versa on the other side. So, they're not perfect, but they have some advantages and disadvantages, and TxDOT has decided that Wells Branch is going to get a DDI. So let's see what that will look like, because we have an illustration right here, and this is from the schematic. Very similar to Palmer Lane. This will be the first DDI at ground level in the Austin area. The one at 360, I believe, will also be at ground level. Basic configuration, you get the idea. DDI at Wells Branch, diverging diamond interchange, and you can look that up. In fact, there's this TxDOT video they made when I'm going to mute it. There's this TxDOT video that was made when this one opened in what was it? 2015, 16? I forget when the first one opened in Round Rock, but it kind of shows you the animation. So we don't need to go over that forever. One more point. This is just to highlight my point that it's, if you're a pedestrian, you're going to cross these slip lanes. This is Wells Branch, right? This is with the DDI. You're going to cross these slip lane, unsignalized slip lane, no traffic signal. Here, there will be a traffic signal. Then you'll be walking in the middle of the road. Or not in the middle of the road. You'll be walking on a shared use path between 3 lanes on one side, 3 lanes on the other, and then you cross back over here, depending on what direction you want to go, right? So this is some more information that just shows where the traffic signals will be placed in this DDI. Again, you can see all this in the story. Let's just take a quick look at this cross-section. So this is the cross-section of I-35 at Wells Branch. This is what it will look like. And we see something here that's very different than the initial cross-section that we had when we first started showing is that I think I might have closed it, but it was one of these, the colorful one. This is the actual plan, and this is the typical section completed. So we're looking at, let's start from left to right here. 6-foot shoulder, a 14-foot collector distributor lane. This would be the bypass lane if you want to avoid the, I think that's what that is. If you want to avoid the DDI, the interchange. Okay, main lanes, 10-foot shoulder, 12-foot, 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 going northbound, 12-foot, 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 going northbound. Southbound, managed lane, 11-foot, 12-foot, 11-foot, 11-foot. So narrower lanes, a little harder to stay in between the lines, a little more nerve-wracking at times, but there's arguments that people will drive a little bit slower. There's been some research on this. I did a whole story about lane widths and how that can affect driving, but it's a little less comfortable in an 11-foot lane. It's just simple, especially on a freeway like this. We're not talking about side streets where we're worried about pedestrians crossing, and this is like a limited access freeway. People are going fast, and so 11 feet is not as comfortable, but it does allow them to cram in more capacity without having to seize as much property. So again, we're moving along here. This is south of Wells Branch Parkway now. And as we go south of Wells Branch Parkway, you see some reconfiguration of the ramps here, an exit for the managed lane, and for the southbound managed lane, exit for the northbound managed lane, some ramp shifts and reconfigurations. And so you keep going south, and oh yeah, so noise walls. We had the question about the noise walls from Sarah, the noise sound barriers, noise walls. So if you're wondering what those are, here's a look at one. I took this drone shot. This is Mopac looking east into Clarksville. There's downtown Austin. And this is a noise wall. This is a sound barrier that was installed here to block the increase in sound that will be that is affecting this neighborhood of Clarksville. So, pardon me. 8 noise barriers. Now, I'm going to nerd out on this for a second, if you'll indulge me. Essentially, TxDOT, and you can read this in the story, but TxDOT, more cars means more noise. The Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, has certain noise limits for different types of properties, like hospital and child care center versus residence versus business, etc. And each one has sort of like a benchmark that's like, if you go louder than this many decibels, essentially, it's like an average of the noise. But like, if you go over this many decibels, you have to consider. And I'm sure that anyone who works in this is a specialist is like cringing right now because I'm giving the super simplistic version. But basically, if it gets too loud, they got to build a barrier. But they only have to build a barrier if the number of they only have to build the barrier if, how can I say this? Well, I said it right here. If it costs less than $25,000 per benefited receiver. What is a benefited receiver? What TxDOT does is they put these little receivers, they're called like noise volume loudness testing machines, in certain locations along the highway, and they have a map in their sorry, EA, I'm just jumping around windows here and thinking about so their environmental impact statement, which I thought I had open, but I guess I don't. Let me just crack that open real fast, and just so I can show you where all of these receivers are, because I feel like this is an important piece of this project. It really is going to be louder, and not everyone is going to be able to benefit from a noise wall. Of course, noise walls have their drawbacks too. They block the view. They can block airflow in certain ways. But let's see if I can open my noise barriers. Okay, so it's right at the bottom. It's Appendix F. Okay, so if you go through, maybe I should just rotate this. So you can see here these R25, R26. Have I got all these windows open? R25. Let me zoom in a bit more here for you. So this is this is like a receiver, receiver 25, receiver 26. They did almost 100 of these different receivers where they put them in and they test the noise levels, and then they use some mathematical calculation to determine how much louder the noise will be. And you can read more about their mathematical calculation in their actual noise traffic technical report right here, which is linked to in the story, and they go through some of the methodology. But like you can see here, like R1, receiver 1 was a hotel, receiver 2 was a college, receiver, and receiver 1, let's take one here. Receiver 7 was a restaurant. The NAC level, which is sort of like the federal standard, is you want to have it no more than 72 decibels. And I'm saying decibels, but it's like a measurement of decibels that is an average. I won't get into the details of that, but let's just say 72 decibels, right? That's the NAC level at this restaurant. In 2018, when they did this, it was 71. And the predicted traffic volumes in 2038, it's going to be 77, so 6 decibels louder. Now, what is a decibel? Just for some reference, if something's 10 decibels louder, it's basically perceived as being twice as loud. If it's 10 decibels quieter, It's going to be sound as if it's half as loud. It's sort of a logarithmic thing. So will there be a noise impact? Yes, there will be a noise impact, but this restaurant will not be getting a noise barrier because of a number of different factors. Among them is this calculation that for each of these receivers, if to lower the noise barrier per receiver or per benefited household or whatever, if it costs more than $25,000, then they don't have to do it because then it's not considered reasonable. And if a noise barrier that is 20 feet tall would not reduce the sound by at least 5 decibels at least half of the receiver locations in that area, then it's not considered feasible. So, and it's not required under federal law. And this is an issue with all highway projects. It's not just an issue with I-35. So let us take a look at some of these noise barriers. So Land Tower Ambrosio Apartments on the east side of I-35, south of Wells Branch, is going to get a 510-foot-long noise wall that's 16 feet high. That's going to cost $146,000 or about $8,000 per affected household. Another fascinating thing is the Cook. So let me go back to the schematic here. There's 2 cemeteries along this route, and one of them is right here at Wells Branch. Capitol Memorial Park. They're both owned by the same company, Cook Walden, and we have like the email that Cook Walden sent to TxDOT here that basically says, nope, there's no internments of any type outside our fenced area. So go, we're not worried. So TxDOT is not worried at all about because in that area, all of their construction will be contained to the footprint, the right-of-way, footprint of the highway. So they're not worried about digging up graves, basically. But both of these cemeteries are going to get louder. These are quiet places where, you go and reflect on your lost loved one. And, but Cook Walden Capitol Parks is going to get 5 decibels louder. This is just according to TxDOT's calculations. Sometimes it might be more than 5 decibels. Sometimes it might be less than 5 decibels. This is an average. But because Capitol Park Cemetery already has a lower noise level to begin with, it's like, even though it's going to get 5 decibels louder, it would not exceed the FHWA NACS thing that we were looking at. Memorial Hill Cemetery traffic volumes would increase by 2 decibels, and they already exceed federal standards there, but a 20-foot tall noise barrier would not reduce the noise by at least 5 decibels, so they don't have to build it at Memorial Hill Cemetery. All right, so we're jumping around a lot, and as I said, I'm not going to cover everything in this live stream because it's a lot. And if you've stuck with me this long, thank you so much. This is the first time that I've done one of these, and I'd like to do more of them because it's fun to talk about this stuff. And sometimes we do so much work on a story, and we put it out on the web and do a 5-minute radio feature, and it's done. But there's so much more to talk about. So let's. Another thing I should have mentioned about Wells Branch, and it's the same for Howard Lane. Both of these bridges are known bat habitat. I had a story on that too. TxDOT is building, or has already installed 36 of these bat boxes, artificial bat habitat under the bridge that goes over Walnut Creek. So they're hoping that bats will roost there. But this dude, Lee McKenzie, and this is his wife, Diane Odegaard. They both run the Austin Bat Refuge, and they've consulted with TxDOT. They're among the experts that the state holds Zoom meetings with to get their input, and they don't expect that these. Lee at least said he doesn't expect that these bat boxes will provide enough habitat for all of the bats. Now, TxDOT does before they don't just rip down the bridge with all the bats inside. They may have done that in the past, but. Now they actually have a bat biologist, and they hire a consultant, or not a consultant, like a contractor, to go in and do what they call exclusion, where they try and evict the bats, basically let them leave but not come back before they rip down the bridge. But it's obviously impossible to prevent all bat deaths, and so some bats will most likely die or already have died. Some people, like the Austin Bat Refuge folks, get concerned about that, but biologists who are worried more about animals at the population level are like, well, it'll probably be okay in the long run, but you can make that determination for yourself. So Howard Lane, same deal here, new bridge. It's probably easier just to look at these. So new bridge at Howard Lane, some new ramp configurations around here. bypass lane. This is one of the bypass lanes going in a northbound bypass lane at Howard. So you will be able to skip that intersection. You know what? I would love to. Let's just take a second to answer the question about noise barriers, because there's 8 of them, and just knock them out all at once instead of sprinkling it out throughout this, because some of these are going to be, I would say, well, one of them is going to be half a mile long, okay? And that is the one that is, oops, I forgot to switch over here to Acrobat. Okay, I'm not going to flick around forever on these, but I will tell you that the noise barrier north of Breaker is going to, I believe it's north of Breaker. Sorry, I don't want to lead you down the wrong path here, but half mile long noise barrier that is going to be east of I-35 between Walnut Creek and Breaker Lane. So that's the biggest one, but there's 8 more, there's 7 more, and you can read all about it. You know, I don't want to take more than an hour of your time here, but so I'm just going to zip through some of the rest of this, and then you know, you can go through and you can check this all out for yourself. This was a ton of work. I can't really explain everything in an hour, but I did. This was an interesting component that I learned about, and it's not in the schematics, and it's not in the environmental report. I only learned about it from talking to TxDOT and Cap Metro. But basically, there's a, so let's go to the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. This is the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. I don't know if you've ever been here before, but it is a place where you can park and ride. And there's a whole bunch of different transit routes there, you know, 135, all of these you can get to from the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. So what is going to happen here is TxDOT's going to build a ramp, and it's not like a ramp like what you might think, where it's like a huge flyover ramp for northbound and a huge one for southbound. It's more like just like a bridge over the highway. These are going to be elevated at this point, and you can kind of see that in this cross section. So you have this elevated bridge that crosses over the highway and goes up here to the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. And essentially the idea here is, you know, Capital Metro buses, you want people to ride transit, you got to make it faster than driving. And this is maybe one way to do it, at least driving alone, because of course if you have 2 or more people in your car, you can take the managed lane yourself. But this could improve Capital Metro service if they can keep the managed lanes flowing. Of course, that's a very big if. And I thought this was interesting. Cap Metro Orange Line, this orange line coming through here. I mean, there's not going to be an orange line coming up here for quite a long time, but I guess if they do want to build it there, they're thinking about it at least. Okay. Palmer Lane, not a ton of changes because this DDI was just installed pretty recently, although they're going to do some resurfacing here where, as you can see in the yellow, like this is all new pavement. This bypass lane that's proposed already exists. South of Palmer, a new northbound entrance ramp. See, northbound entrance ramp right here. And this exit ramp. So you can kind of see you're on the bypass lane coming from Yeager, Tech Ridge, and then, well, this is only northbound at Tech Ridge is on the east side, right? Yeah, I think so. So you're coming over, you've just passed over Tech Ridge, and you can either get on the frontage road just south of Palmer, or you can merge left and get on this new on-ramp to get on the main lanes. Now, this is another one where there's going to be some changes. Yeager Lane, Tech Ridge. Heavily used intersection as any. And what's going to happen here is there's going to be this bypass lane. Again, orange is bridge. So the bypass lane, 2 lanes, bypass lane to cross over the intersection and continue along the frontage road, should you wish to do so. And if we go back over here to our Acrobat, to our schematic. I'll just go down to the next page here. And we could do like an 8-hour live stream. Should we do 8 hours, Chelsea? No. Sorry, I'm sorry if you've been sending me questions. It looks like you have. All right. So there's messages from other folks. Okay, cool. Wells Branch, keep going. I'm trying to catch up here to Tech Ridge, which unfortunately this is really annoying. They put the match line right here, Tech Ridge, but this, you're going to go a little further south here just to show you what leads up to that bypass lane, which is a lot of scrolling. See, boom, you're on the frontage road. You go off the frontage road to get on the bypass lane. The bypass lane takes you up and over, and I gotta do keyboard shortcuts with this. I'm not used to using OBS, y'all. So this is sort of a cross section. So if you're standing here, you're on this west side of the highway looking east. This kind of gives you an idea of what this bridge, like it's gonna pass over. This is the existing U-turn, southbound and northbound U-turn bridge at Tech Ridge. And so this will pass over. So you get the idea. Continuing south on our journey here, I want to kind of zip through here. This was an interesting thing for some folks, speaking about the local impact of these changes. Folks here who use Park 35 Circle, like TCEQ is here. I think Girl Scouts of America has an office here. There's a bunch of people who live west of here. Again, north is to the left. They didn't like that you pull off Park 35 Circle and you got to cut over 3 lanes to get to this on-ramp. So, but TxDOT's like, it meets our design standards, so we're just going to keep with that. If we moved it, they said it would, if they moved it, they said it would require more land seizures and more business relocations. So you can read more about that. Bridges over Walnut Creek being totally reconstructed. This is really a massive, pretty significant change. Here's the cross section. This is the bridge over Walnut Creek. So this is just the main lanes. The frontage roads have their own bridges. So we're talking northbound here, 11 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet, 11 feet. Those are the general purpose lanes. And then I think this is a merge for the managed lane. 12-foot managed lane, 12-foot managed lane, 10-foot buffer, then 11, 12, 11, 11, an 11-foot auxiliary lane, which is sort of like a long merge lane in a way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lanes, general purpose, going southbound over Walnut Creek. So it's not all just, 3 lanes or 4 lanes in each direction. Let's continue our tour here. I walked across this bridge and it was not very pleasant. And if you have walked across this bridge, you may have also experienced it. The I-35 bridge over Walnut Creek, this thing. Walking right here, it's a narrow sidewalk and cars are zipping down. They're coming down the hill, so they're kind of like accelerating. And there's barely any buffer between you and the vehicles. And then there's a little railing, and over the railing is like a dangerous, potentially deadly fall. And it's not the kind of railing you can hold on to because it's one where the railing's like this big. So it's really big if you can't see my hands. So this is going to be a change to that. 14-foot wide shared use path, 14-foot wide sidewalk, and then a little railing right here, 6.5-foot wide shoulder, and then the frontage road lanes, which will all be 11 feet wide. So a little bit of an improvement for people trying to cross Walnut Creek. And another piece of this, as we approach the hour mark, I just want to tell you that the city is so there's going to be an east-west pedestrian crossing under this and under Little Walnut Creek. It's still kind of in the early stages. It's still being designed, but I thought I had an image of it. Well, I have the one over Little Walnut Creek, just showing there's so many drawings, dude. Okay, you can see here, this is like a very rough drawing, but it just kind of shows you how there would be some. Oh, no, that's not what I thought I was looking at. Sorry. It's really easy to lose your orientation. So anyway, we're just going to zip down through the rest of this. And you can go to this website and see all the changes for yourself. But the main thing that I just want to leave you with, this is like a tree that's believed to be 700 years old or more. TxDOT has promised to protect this tree. It's like 5 feet wide, and it's in the parking lot of a Northern Tool and Equipment. So that should hopefully survive. It's maybe one of the oldest trees in Austin. In fact, Matt Largy has a story here. What is the oldest tree in Austin? And he actually interviews a tree in one of these images. Couldn't find it. Anyway, check out that story. It's a really great story. So Runberg, same deal. Widen bridge. They're shifting out the U-turn lanes here to make more space for on each side for some shared use paths. And as you scroll, you can check out all of the details on this. This is an illustration of that bridge that's supposed to go shared use path, I should say, sidewalk under Little Walnut Creek. So not much information here, but you will have about 10, 11 feet of vertical clearance on the shared use path. Okay, now let me just end 183 and St. John's. Not a lot of changes there. Okay, so that's basically the whole story. Now, before I go, I just want to show you just some of these, as I've already done a little bit, but these PDFs that are the 100% design plans, which you can download. It's 1.8 gigs. It's on the website. And what I would like to do is, like, if I'm just let's just say I live off Breaker Lane. So what I might do is I might open up volume 4 and type Breaker, and then I can just kind of skip through and just, get a flavor for if I really care about these changes, like what is coming to my area. And if you are interested in these, or maybe you're someone who is an engineer who works with these documents all the time, please let me know. Reach out to me. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But I think that's probably enough for now. An hour of going through all of these plans. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and talking about this stuff. I would like to do more of these live streams because it's fun. Let's see. We've got some comments here from some various folks. Lots of comments. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you for posting those stories of mine, Chelsea. I would love to thank Chelsea and Stephanie Federico, Chelsea Zhu, and Michael Manassi took some amazing photos, but also he's a KUT photographer. Deborah Cannon did some great work with this. So many people helped me with this story. But we're going to do one of these guides for the I-35 CapEx South project. That's from Ben White, almost to the Hayes County line, basically to SH-45 Southwest, I think it's called at that point. And I need a little bit of a break from writing about highway plans because I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the most exciting thing to write. There's no story. There's no characters. You're just describing highway plans. It's super interesting, but just like learning about it is interesting. I want to explain it, but like the actual writing, there's only so many ways you can say northbound. There's only so many ways you can say lane. So, just from that craft standpoint, I just want to take a little bit of a break, and then do the I-35 CapEx South thing. But, thanks so much for watching this. Would love to hear any of your feedback. You can email me, nathan@kut.org. You can find me on Twitter, X at KUTNathan. I'm on Blue Sky now, at KUTNathan, and I'm sure you'll have no problem figuring out how to reach me. But that's all.